Hello and welcome. It's 10 a.m. on Wednesday, the 21st of January. You're tuned in to our mid-morning newscast here on ARIRANG TV. Thanks ever so much for joining us. I'm Mark Broome. Let's take a look at what's making the headlines. As China announces its lowest growth in almost 25 years, the IMF downgrades its global economic forecast despite the promise of cheap oil. Pledging to make a fresh start as her approval rating slumps to a new low, President Park Geun-hye says she's going to reshuffle her cabinet and close aides. Plus, Japan's government says it will not give in to terrorism after Islamic State releases a videotaped threat to kill 2 Japanese hostages. But we begin with the dark clouds gathering over the world economy, and despite all the fanfare over cheap oil giving a much-needed boost to struggling economies, the International Monetary Fund has downgraded its expectations for global economic growth for this year and the next. This as Beijing announced Chinese growth last year slowed to its lowest point since 1990. Shin Se-min reports.
China registered its lowest economic growth in 24 years, expanding just 7.4% last year. Although it missed a government target by just 0.1 of a percentage point, it was the first time in 16 years the economy had missed the target. However, the head of China's National Statistics Bureau is optimistic. Noting that 7.4% growth isn't low compared to other countries, Ma Jiantang said his country's economy would keep its inexhaustible momentum this year.
More importantly, we must see the potential and conditions, especially the solid foundation, inexhaustible momentum, and continuous innovation of the government's macro regulation for China's economic growth to maintain a moderate to high speed in the long run and advance towards the high end.
The International Monetary Fund's chief economist, Oliver Blanchard, also expressed confidence in Beijing's policymakers, saying the country's slower growth reflected a shift to a more consumption-based growth model for a heavy reliance on investments and exports. The latest Chinese data came as the IMF lowered its growth forecast for the global economy. The fund said on Tuesday it now expects the global economy to grow 3.5% this year, down from its previous projection of 3.8% made in October. For this revision, it cited the slowing Chinese economy, the mounting recession in Russia, and a weak European economy. The fund ratcheted down the forecast by 0.3 percentage points for next year as well to 3.7. The lowered outlook is expected to impact the unemployment rate across the world. The World Employment Social Outlook report by the International Labour Organization said that over 210 million people will be left without jobs by 2019, up from around 200 million now. Shin Se-min, ARIRANG News.
Now, every year, the small alpine city of Davos in Switzerland, with a population of just over 11,000, swells with the arrival of the global elite, top-tier politicians and other VIPs for the World Economic Forum. The annual forum kicks off on Wednesday with this year's focus on new global context. Song Ji-son has a preview.
This year's World Economic Forum annual meeting is being held against a backdrop of multiple challenges to the global economy. Financial uncertainties, regional conflicts, and the uneven global economic recovery will be weighing on the minds of those flying into Davos. Some 40 heads of state, including German Chancellor Angela Merkel, French President François Hollande, and Chinese Premier Li Keqiang, and 2,500 other business and society leaders will flock in to discuss the new global context. The challenges include the resolution of geopolitical crises in the wake of conflicts in Ukraine and the Middle East and the rise of Islamic State. The program also includes discussions on pandemics and health after Ebola took the lives of several thousand West Africans and some Western aid workers.
We have to deal with the issues to foster the growth on a global level. We have to deal with the challenges we see on the geopolitical level, for example, in Europe, in the Eurozone, but as well as the crisis in the Ukraine. We've also to deal with the Middle East issues, IS, Middle East, terrorism in North Africa.
On the opening day, Chinese Premier Li Keqiang will give a keynote speech on China's growth. That's one to keep an eye on, as it marks the first appearance by a Chinese leader in Davos in 6 years. IMF Chief Christine Lagarde and other economists will discuss the results of quantitative easing on the second day, and on the last day of the forum, look out for the forum's global economic outlook and 2015 agenda. South Korea's Foreign Minister Yoon Byung-se will give a speech on Seoul's unification policy titled Unified Korea, Infinite Possibilities on Thursday's Korea Night. Yoon will lay out Seoul's vision for unification, as this year marks the 70th anniversary of Inter-Korean division. 송지선, 아리랑 뉴스.
Now staying with business, but a little closer to home, and over the last 2 days we've been taking a look at the Korean government's support for startups and a local food delivery app that's taken the market by storm. Today though, in the third of our 5-part series on startups, we're going to take a look at the obstacles that exist in terms of a lack of large-scale private funding for startups. Our Kang Jungho reports.
Facebook 8, Google 35. That's the number of startups the two U.S. tech giants bought last year alone. Korea's Samsung Electronics, less than one startup a year on average over the past decade. The head of an association of angel investors says Korean conglomerates instead focus on recruiting engineers with innovative ideas from either suppliers or rival companies.
We have yet to build up a corporate culture that actively embraces M&As, which rewards startups with attractive valuations.
And the corporate practices, experts say, make it hard for venture capitals to thrive in Korea, as M&A deals are the best way for angel investors to make big bucks. While such incentives encourage investors to seek opportunities to turn innovative ideas into lucrative businesses, the lack of them has limited the growth of the pool of venture capital. It stood at roughly $2.3 billion last year, little changed from $2 billion 3 years ago. Building up startup success stories is also critical.
In Korea, there aren't many successful angel funds out there. This is because so many investors got their fingers burnt in the wake of the dot-com crash in the early 2000s.
To achieve the government's goal of making startups Korea's next growth engine, experts say educational reform is vital. Many critics say the Korean educational system's emphasis on rote memory and discipline stifles creativity and entrepreneurial spirit. 황지혜, 아리랑 뉴스.
Now turning to the latest out of the nation's top office, and with her approval ratings hitting an all-time low, President Park Geun-hye has promised to reshuffle her office to try and turn over a new leaf. The president says the shake-up will help the government better carry out her economic reform plans. Our Chae-sun reports.
President Park Geun-hye says she will soon reshuffle her staff and cabinet to sharpen her focus on revitalizing the economy in the new year.
청와대 조직도 일부 개편을 통해서 업무의 효율성을 높이고 심기일전에 일할 수 있도록 하고 지금 공석으로 있는 해양수산부 장관 등 꼭 필요한 소폭 개각을 통해서 새롭게 출발하는 계기로 삼고자 합니다.
At Tuesday's cabinet meeting, she also talked about appointing special advisors who would consult with political parties in carrying out her 3-year economic innovation plan of spurring growth through reforms and streamlining red tape. President Park then reiterated what she said at her New Year's press conference, that this year will offer the Korean economy a final chance to recover and make a leap forward. The president is thought to be speeding up personnel reforms after approval ratings hit an all-time low of 35% amid public criticism over disorder within the administration surrounding documents leaked from her office. The reshuffle is widely expected to occur before the Lunar New Year holiday next month. Before starting Tuesday's cabinet meeting, President Park, in an attempt to contain criticism about her lack of communication with officials, had a brief but formal tea time with the cabinet for the first time since she took office 2 years ago. Choi Yu-sun, ARIRANG News.
Now, North Korea has offered to hold high-level inter-Korean talks if South Korea also takes steps to improve the atmosphere for such dialogue. North Korea's state-run media reported on Tuesday that its government party joint conference stressed that it was ready to discuss and overcome every obstacle standing in the way of better ties between the two Koreas. The North said that as 2015 marks the 70th anniversary of Korea's liberation from Japan's colonial rule, the Koreas have a duty to use it as an opportunity to boost their relations. Officials at South Korea's Unification Ministry have said that if Pyongyang really wants a fresh start, it should first accept Seoul's offer for high-level talks. More evidence has emerged that makes it look as though a young Korean man who went missing on the Turkey-Syria border well over a week ago now could have joined Islamic State as was feared. Authorities in Korea are concerned the 18-year-old, whose family name is Kim, may have joined the extremist group in Syria. Police say Kim sent tweets in English and Arabic last October asking how he could join Islamic State. He also wrote on Twitter that he hated feminists and that's why he liked IS. Kim was last seen on January 10th, leaving a hotel on the Turkey-Syria border carrying a full backpack. And our first story in the international news today is about Islamic State, and the extremist group has released a video demanding a $200 million ransom in exchange for the lives of two Japanese hostages. For more on this story, we connect live to Eunice Kim, who's standing by at the news centre for us. So Eunice, this is the first time Islamic State has demanded money in these types of videos at least, and this group, Islamic State, has given Tokyo a deadline of 3 days.
Yeah, that's right, Mark. It is unclear exactly when that 72 hours began, since the video was uploaded online and not directly sent to the Tokyo government. Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe has made bringing home the hostages a priority, calling the act unforgivable.
It is an unacceptable act to threaten us in exchange for human lives, and I feel angry about it. I strongly urge them to immediately release the hostages without harming them. We will continue to contribute to the regional peace and stability in cooperation with the global community. It is an inevitable course for us, and there will be no change to it.
The video shows 47-year-old Kenji Goto, a respected freelance journalist in Japan, on the left, and 42-year-old businessman Haruna Yukawa. The masked militant blamed their predicament on Prime Minister Abe and his recent pledge of $200 million to, quote, kill our women and children. Abe did in fact pledge the sum during his Middle East tour, which he cut short with this development, but for non-military aid to help people displaced by the fighting in Syria and Iraq. NHK reports State Minister for Foreign Affairs Yasuhide Nakayama has arrived in Jordan as a task force is established at the Prime Minister's office. As officials race to authenticate the video, some Japanese media are questioning whether the images themselves could have been manipulated, saying the shadow of the two hostages appear to be angling in different directions.
Yeah, there always seems to be these little conspiracy theories about the videos that Islamic State releases. I'm sure we'll find out the full story later. But this is not the first time, as we mentioned before, that IS has demanded money, but it's the first time they've made an order in one of these kind of gruesome videos they have made. Some experts have suggested this could mean something, desperation perhaps.
Right. Well, certainly it's a thought crossing the minds of many analysts. Also, given that the hostages were not given an opportunity to speak this time, as had been the case in past similar videos, this could suggest a group on the run. And now we've talked quite a bit about falling oil prices, a cut of 60% in the past 6 months or so. And that very well could have hit the extremist group's purse strings as well, since much of their income is believed to come from selling pilfered oil. And don't forget about the U.S.-led airstrikes. They are continuing. In fact, on Tuesday, the U.S. Defense Department did say coalition forces conducted 74 airstrikes against IS positions in Iraq and Syria over a 5-day period, including 23 tactical units. So certainly pressure is on, Mark.
Yeah, you're certainly right. And staying in the region, some major developments in Yemen overnight as Houthi rebels there appear to, we don't know for sure yet, to have unseated the US-backed president. They actually stormed the presidential palace.
Right, and the presidential residence, which is not too far away. And this is of particular concern for the West, as President Abed Rabo Mansour Hadi, embattled as he may be, is a key ally in the region, particularly against the Yemeni branch of al-Qaeda, which you'll remember had claimed responsibility for the attack on France's Charlie Hebdo. Now, it is unclear at the moment who is in control of the country, though the shaky ceasefire that had been reached in recent days obviously has been shattered. Yemen's information minister did say that this was a completion of a coup d'etat that began in September by Houthi rebels when the militants moved into the capital of Sana'a from their traditional strongholds. Now, in fact, the leader of that Shiite group, Abdel Malek al-Houthi, on the group's TV network said all options were open and demanded the president speed up a UN-brokered peace deal that grants them more power.
Okay, Eunice, thank you very much for your reporting today, and we'll see you back at noon.
See you then.
Get connected to Korea and the world. Join us every weekday for the latest developments out of Korea, Asia, and beyond. On air, on your mobile, and online, we lead the way every day. ARIRANG News.
To try and resolve the crisis in Ukraine, the European Union also offers 15 billion. Now, quitting smoking is a resolution many smokers vow to keep in the new year. But in Korea, smokers are going that extra mile to stick to it this year after cigarette prices basically doubled a few weeks ago. And as our Kim Min-ji reports, they are turning to a wide variety of options for help.
With prices up and fewer places to light up, many smokers in Korea have made resolutions to quit smoking this year, or cut down at least. Kim Ji-mo, who has been smoking for 8 years, is one of them. To get started, he sought the help of a tobacco cessation clinic.
Well, the tax increase came quite suddenly, and smokers like myself didn't have time to adjust. And I am being really forced to quit smoking.
Tobacco cessation clinics nationwide have seen a surge in visitors this year, and specialists are apparently too busy to sit down for an interview. Health Ministry data shows that more than 100,000 people registered for smoking cessation programs as of last week, up 4 times from a year ago. Those who sign up visit a clinic for about 6 months and undergo counseling. Others are exploring a range of alternatives.
The market for products that help smokers kick the habit, such as this nicotine-free inhaler or chewing gum, is expected to get a boost from cigarette price hike this year.
Sales of e-cigarettes, for one, have been booming since the start of the year.
I've seen sales jump about 3 to 4 times. Sometimes I get so many phone inquiries that I can't attend to the customers that visit.
E-cigarettes have become popular for both the variety of flavors and as a way to cut down or quit gradually.
Before turning to e-cigarettes, I smoked for about 20 years. I changed because it's cheaper in the long run, and there is no smell, so I can freely interact with others.
Other smoking cessation products such as patches and inhalers also saw a sharp increase in sales during the first 2 weeks of January from a year ago. The first month of the year is normally a time when sales of such products jump, but with the higher prices here to stay for good, the market is likely to get bigger. Whether the craze will lead to an overall decrease in the smoking rate, which the government hopes to see decline to 35% from the current 42%, is something only time will tell. Kim Min-ji, Arirang News.
And a good Wednesday morning to you all as we kick things off with the 2018 Pyeongchang Winter Games as the organizing committee held a luncheon on Tuesday and discussed their plans in making this Winter Olympics happen. Now, admitting to some difficulties due to funding issues and construction delays, the Secretary General of the Pyeongchang 2018 Organizing Committee, Kang Jungho, stated that they are pressed for time in making the event happen in 2018. But he was optimistic in the end, as he stated that a number of sponsorship deals are near and that the Organizing Committee will speed things up. Now, the organizers have generated no income in 2013 and just 3.5 billion won, or roughly $3.2 million in 2014, still falling short of its target. Now, last Saturday, Nexen hero shortstop Kang Jungho officially became the first KBO position player to sign with a major league team. And seems like his former teammate is now looking to follow his footsteps in trying to become the second KBO position player to play in the majors. Now, in an interview at the Nexen Hero Spring Camp in Arizona, Nexen first baseman Park Geun-hye expressed his desire to play in the majors after the 2015 season, as the Major League scouts are expected to check him out throughout the 2015 season. Now, a two-time KBO MVP, Park hit an incredible 120 home runs in the past 3 seasons in the KBO, as MLB.com stated that interest in Park will rise if Kang Jungho does well in his rookie season with the Pittsburgh Pirates. Now, I'm not a big fan of winter, which is why I'm looking forward to the warmer months like June. And if you're a football fan, you'll be looking forward to June 14th because Manchester United and Bayern Munich is set for another Legends match on that day. But of course, the big question for all the Korean football fans is whether or not former United midfielder Park Ji-sung will be able to play the Legends match. Now, though he might not be the same level as Paul Scholes or Phil Neville, Park Ji-sung was big enough to be named the team's ambassador last year. With both teams set to announce the rosters soon, fans hope to see Park Ji-sung wear his United jersey one more time. Now, I've enjoyed playing bowling, just that I was never that good. But the Korean men's bowling team is, as they swept the two-man bowling competition during the 2015 Asian Bowling Championship. With the 23rd Asian Bowling Championship currently taking place in Thailand, the Korean men's two-person bowling team swept the event, winning all 3 medals. This including the duo of Choi Bo-geum and Park Jung-woo, who set a new Asian record, scoring 2,834 points in 6 games, winning the gold medal for the 2nd straight year. And that's going to wrap it up for me. This has been SJ. Have a great rest of the day and see you guys again for your sports needs.
Good morning. It's going to be a wet day for most parts. It started to rain in Jeju Island about a couple of hours ago, then soon will spread to other parts of the nation. But it could be snow in some parts like Gangwon-do provinces, where it could see up to 10 centimeters of snow, whereas Seoul and the surrounding areas will not see any rainfall or snow during the day, but possibly overnight, and it should be very light one. In the meantime, temperatures will continue to be very pleasant, hovering way above the seasonal averages, topping out at 6 here in Seoul under mostly cloudy skies, and cities like Daegu and Gwangju will peak at 8 and 7, and Busan will top out at 9 this afternoon. And as for the other regions, Jeju Island will see a high of 10, while Daejeon and Dokdo both will be getting up to 7. Now, temperatures will not drop even after the rain. In fact, will actually go up higher than today, making spring-like temperatures tomorrow. And it seems like temperatures will remain on the mild side for the time being. That's all for Korea, and here's international weather for viewers around the world.
Well, that's all we have for now. Plenty more stories to check out online, and we'll be back at noon Korea time with our next newscast. Until then, goodbye.